over 18 months, I built this tiny house on wheels with no previous experience right in my driveway. Unfortunately, after we hit the road, I discovered that we made 5 mistakes that are really not easily fixed now that we're on the road. 2 of those items are visible on this side of the house alone. So see if you can find the 2, but make sure to stick around, and I'll show you all 5 and how to avoid them so that you don't make the same mistakes in your build. The first item that you might have seen is the gray tank is on the wrong side of this build. For some reason, I got it in my mind that it needed to be on the passenger side of the vehicle instead of the driver's side. So I put the drain valve on the same side that our front door is on. This is completely backwards for any dump station, so you want to make sure that you put this on the right side, which is the driver's side, so that it's easy to access at dump stations when you're leaving or coming to parks. So the next mistake is one that definitely can't be fixed now that the build is done, and that is the total height of the tall side of this trailer. My original plan was to build the house at 13 foot 3 inches tall. That way I had a little bit of wiggle room beneath the 13 foot 6 requirement to make it under most bridges. Unfortunately, I made a miscalculation during the build, and the house ended up 13 foot 6 exactly. That won't be too much of an issue if I never wanted to add anything to the roof. However, I was hoping to down the road add solar, so now that's completely off the table unless I can get it the same height as the standing seam on my roof, which is 1.5 inches. So we'll have to see how that goes. But as of right now, that 13 foot 6 height is definitely something that I did wrong in the build. So the next issue is visible from this side of the house, which is the back side of the house. And it's not that we haven't hidden the piping yet, but rather it's what left these holes. Originally, I had the condenser for the air conditioner lag bolted in 8 different lag bolts into studs in the back of the house. But the very first move that we took the tiny house on the road, we hit a humongous bump difference in the road, and that got completely ripped off from the back of the house and was hanging off the back of the house just by these copper piping. So this is one that we did find a solution to after the fact, and underneath here I built a little box, cut a hole in the house here and a hole in the house here, and now the air condenser is hidden away in here. This is the intake, that's the outtake, and that is a much safer way to travel with this. So even though you see some tiny houses with the air conditioning condenser on the outside of the house, those aren't meant to drive down the road. So find something like this that you can put it in a much safer location, and this has taken a lot of stress off. Mistake number 4 is related to this little motor right here. When we originally left on our adventures, we had one motor for both of these jacks. And every time we went to move, the house really struggled to get the gooseneck portion high enough to get over the ball of the hitch. So it was a big stressor every single time we would move the house, was if the jack would have enough power to get it high enough. So this solution was another simple one. We ordered another jack for the secondary one, so this is no longer just one long jack running both. And now moving day goes off without a hitch by simply having completely independent controls. And this has actually worked to our advantage as well, because 9 times out of 10, this gravel isn't level either. So rather than having to try to get it exactly level with these little orange blocks, I can get it level with the independent jacks rather than the ground being perfectly level, because 6 months on the road has taught me that there is no such thing as a perfectly level campsite at any campground that I've stayed at. The last issue that we found out once we hit the road is one that doesn't really affect me in any way, but has a fairly large detriment to my 5'2" tall wife. And that is the height of this window right here. The normal window height is 40 inches to 48 inches on the high side from the floor. This window here is almost 55 inches off of the ground. It was just something I didn't think about when I was framing. I just wanted to make sure that I got it above the counter space. And in the end, I made it so that she is completely unable to reach this window if the window is open. If it's closed, she can open it, but she cannot get it closed without climbing on the counter. So this one is going to stay, but it is regardless one of the errors that I made in the build. So those are the 5 errors that we had in our build. There are some smaller things that we wish we would have went with a different design, and we'll get to that video eventually. But for right now, these 5 errors are things that we've had to fix while on the road that could have been avoided if we just thought about it ahead of time. So if you liked the video or you got something useful from it, make sure to click the like button, give it that thumbs up. If you want more tiny house content, make sure to follow us and click that bell icon so that it tells you every time that we upload a new video. I'm John with the Tiny House Travelers, and remember, tiny house, big adventures.